In the last video, I tracked the circle alignment from Biloxi, Mississippi on the Mississippi Sound through Mobile, Alabama, a location rich in the history of what we are taught was New France in North America, to Montgomery, the capital city of Alabama. My name is Michelle Gibson. I am picking up the alignment in Atlanta, the capital of Georgia, and its most populous city. The presently named city of Atlanta was incorporated on December 29, 1847. A town was said to have existed here since 1837 for the purpose of developing a terminus for the Western and Atlantic Railroad between the port of Savannah in Georgia and the Midwest. Does Atlanta equal Atlantis? I am seeing and saying that Atlantis was not only a continent that sunk in the Atlantic Ocean from a cataclysmic event at some point in Earth's history, but that the ancient advanced global civilization of master builders was the same civilization as that of Atlantis, including all of North America. I shared what is called the Temple of the Atlantes at Tula in circle alignments on the planet Washington, D.C., Part 20, Colima, Mexico to Aguascalientes, Mexico. And in a different take on Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Kubla Khan, I showed you the giant foot of one of what are called Atlantes at the New Hermitage in St. Petersburg in Russia. So let's see what secrets Atlanta has to reveal. The ubiquitous Frederick Law Olmsted Sr. was famous as one of the designers, along with Calvert Vaux, of Central Park in New York in the 1850s. They were said to have won a competition for the design of Central Park. Olmsted was said to have been tasked with designing Druid Hills in Atlanta, one of the city's first planned suburbs, in the early 1890s. It is interesting to note that Olmsted was said to have been inexperienced before his work on Central Park. In a biography, it says he created the profession of landscape architecture by working in a dry goods store, taking a year-long voyage in the China trade, and by studying surveying, engineering, chemistry, and scientific farming. He was not a college graduate. We are told he was about to enter Yale College in 1837, but weakened eyes from sumac poisoning prevented him the usual course of study. He is said to have designed the Olmsted Linear Park in Druid Hills, with his curvilinear style, in which small parks are like wings on both sides of a straight line, in this case Ponce de Leon Avenue. This stony bridge is located in the Olmsted Linear Park. Interestingly, in addition to having been involved with designing Central Park in New York City and the Olmsted Linear Park in Atlanta, he is also credited with designing Boston's Emerald Necklace starting in 1878, where you find this bridge in Franklin Park, as well as what is being called an overlook shelter there. He is also credited with designing the Grand Necklace of Parks in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, also known as the Emerald Necklace. This includes Lake Park with its so-called Indian burial mound, North Point Lighthouse, and Lion Bridge. More on lions to come. Juneau Park is also one of the Grand Necklace of Parks, said to have been designed by Frederick Law Olmsted in Milwaukee starting in 1889. Note the deer statue and the ornate architecture of the railroad depot seen in this old postcard. More on deer to come. In the vicinity of Druid Hills, there is a golf club. I believe golf courses are a cover-up of mound sites. This is the massive Druid Hills Baptist Church, which just happens to look like an ancient Greco-Roman temple. Emory University is in the Druid Hills area. This is the Emory University Hospital on campus. There are Druid Hills in Baltimore, Maryland, Birmingham, Alabama, and in Fairfield Glade, Tennessee. A Druid was a member of a high-ranking professional class in ancient Celtic cultures. They were religious leaders, legal authorities, lore keepers, medical professionals, and political advisors. I think the memory of the people is retained in the name. The location of today's Piedmont Park in Midtown Atlanta was the site of two big expositions. The first was the Piedmont Exposition in 1887, with its main building showing here. The purpose of the exposition was to exhibit the natural resources of the Piedmont region, which includes Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. It was attended by President Grover Cleveland and was said to have successfully expanded Atlanta's reputation as a place to visit and conduct business. The Piedmont Exposition Building reminds me of the former Exhibition Building and Market Square Clock Tower in Geelong, which was located in Australia's Victoria State. The second was the Cotton States and International Exposition in 1895. It was said to be designed to promote the American South with the world and to showcase and promote new technologies. Landscape architect Joseph Forsyth Johnson is credited with the design of the park, and Bradford Gilbert was the supervising architect of the entire exposition. This was the woman's building at the expo. Olmsted's sons, John and Frederick Jr., are credited with the completion of today's Piedmont Park in Midtown Atlanta, called the Central Park of the South. This is called the Piedmont Park Greystone, which serves as an event center for the citizens of Atlanta. There is an elliptical-looking feature adjacent to the Greystone venue, with volleyball courts and what look like ball fields. This reminds me of the great lawn in New York City's Central Park, with its ball fields, which were said to have been added in the 1950s. It also reminds me of the Ellipse in Washington, D.C., which is adjacent to the White House. The exact geographic center of Washington is said to be 400 meters to the west of and very slightly south of the center of the Ellipse Park. As a matter of fact, there is a precise linear north-south relationship between the White House, the Ellipse, and the Jefferson Memorial, located on the southeast corner of the tidal basin, and another between the Lincoln Memorial to the west through the Washington Monument to the Capitol building on the east side of the alignment. This is a view of a stone bridge and gazebo at Lake Claramere at Piedmont Park. The skyline of Midtown Atlanta, as seen from Lake Claramere on the left, reminds me of the skyline of Manhattan, as seen from the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir in Central Park on the right. This is the Fox Theater in Midtown Atlanta. This is definitely Moorish architecture. It was said to have been built originally to become a large shrine temple, but the $2.75 million project exceeded their budget. So the project was said to have been leased to movie mogul William Fox. The Fox Theater opened in 1929, 2 months after the stock market crash and the beginning of the Great Depression. The theater closed 125 weeks after it opened. New owners acquired it, Paramount Pictures and Georgia-based Lucas and Jenkins, after the mortgage was foreclosed in 1932. This is the interior of the Fox Theater. This is a detail of the Fox Theater stage in Atlanta on the left, the Mabel Tainter Memorial Theater stage in Menominee, Wisconsin in the middle, and a detail on the right at the Alhambra in Granada, Spain, the only place acknowledged to have had a Moorish civilization. Everywhere else, the Moors and their ancient advanced worldwide civilization has been omitted from the historical record. The Old Fourth Ward, also known as O4W, is adjacent to Midtown Atlanta and southwest of Druid Hills. It is best known as the location of the Martin Luther King Jr. historic site, which includes his boyhood home, and the Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he was baptized, and both he and his father preached. This is the Ponce City Market in the Old Fourth Ward, and a close-up of its tower. And this is the Hotel Claremont in the Old Fourth Ward, with the interesting movie theater marquee-looking signage at the hotel's entrance. Here is real estate in the Old Fourth Ward, and an old masonry water tower there. Cabbagetown is just to the south of the Old Fourth Ward. The name got my attention because it is unique, so I took a look there. This is what I found. We are told that the Atlanta rolling mill was destroyed around the Battle of Atlanta, which took place on July 21st, 1864. On its site, the Fulton Bag and Cotton Mill began its operations in 1881. It is on the south side of the Georgia Railroad line. Cabbagetown and the surrounding mill town was said to be one of the first textile processing mills built in the South. The mill was closed in 1977 and in 1996 was renovated into the nation's largest residential loft community, the Fulton Cotton Mill Lofts. Notice the similarity to the Ponce City Market in the Old Fourth Ward on the left and the Fulton Cotton Mill Lofts in Cabbagetown on the right. The Oakland Cemetery is adjacent to Cabbagetown on its western edge. I found some interesting things centered around the Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta. Please take a close look at these 3 photos of Oakland Cemetery. Compared with the Cimetière du Père Lachaise in Paris, France, the Vieux Cemetery in Florence, Italy, and in New Orleans, the St. Louis Cemetery, and the Metairie Cemetery with what is called the Brunswick Pyramid. The Lion of Atlanta is in the Oakland Cemetery, which immediately brought to mind the Lion of Lucerne in Switzerland, which I saw in 1985 when I was stationed in Augsburg, Germany in the United States Army. The ancient Lion of Chia on the island of Chia in Greece was believed to have been carved prior to 600 BC. And then there is the Sphinx on the Giza Plateau in Egypt, believed to be at least 4,500 years old, with the body of a lion and the head of a human. What does all of this lion symbolism represent? I personally believe there is a connection with the Lion of Judah. We are taught that everything is separate and developed independently, but I don't believe the ancient advanced civilization is separate. I believe it is one and the same. There is a 2-letter difference between Kemetic and what is considered connected to the land of Kem or Egypt, and Semitic, relating to or denoting a family of languages that includes Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician and Akkadian, constituting the main subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic family, and relating to the peoples who speak Semitic languages, especially Hebrew and Arabic. This Sphinx is called the first written record of the Semitic alphabet, the Proto-Canaanite Rosetta Stone Sphinx found by Sir William Matthew Flinders Petrie in Egypt in 1905. And I found all of these alignments I'm sharing with you after I found the North American star tetrahedron in 2016, when I noticed cities in North America lining up. This image is from Greenwood Cemetery in New Orleans. It is a combination mound and ancient temple-looking structure, a direct connection between the ancient mound builders and the ancient temple builders. And I have seen the deer in Bushnell Park in Hartford, Connecticut, also a symbol of the city, and the island of Rhodes in Greece, for which the state of Rhode Island is said to be named. If I were to take a guess, it would be that the deer symbology has to do with the ancient continent of Lemuria, or Mu, which had a deer as its symbol, and to which the Washita Moors, also known as the Ancient Ones, and the mound builders trace their history, as do the Tibetans for that matter. It's about an ancient understanding that connects us, humanity, back to all of creation. I will end this video here and pick up the alignment in the next video in Northeast Georgia.